Welcome to PhD Weekly, episode 15. I am your host, RKPhD. This series is a weekly series, generally, where I reflect on my past week in grad school, an idea, lesson, something I'm trying to learn, as well as a feelings update, highlight, and stressor for this past week. I just want to share with you for this week, I've been struggling a lot with a class called Quantitative and Computational Methods, what we call QCM. Really in this class, I'm really not able to understand much. And so I'm figuring out how to build my own AI study system in place to be able to really just self-teach myself a lot of this material. The way the lecture is being taught, there's already this like underlying expectation of a certain level of linear algebra, probability and statistics, and even some calculus in the lectures that I have not studied or reviewed or even thought about in 4 or 5 years. So a lot of the material that's even being taught in lecture, I have to self-teach myself. But first, I also have to teach myself how to even read some of this material, some of the notation, because I'm very unfamiliar with this. So it definitely feels like a foreign language every time I walk into the class. And it's really just consisting of how you can use math to be able to model biological problems. So I'm going to share with you my 3-step system for self-teaching myself a lot of this material. But first, feelings update. Overall, I definitely say I'm feeling lost at the moment. It's been very, I think disheartening is the word, to just walk into class, feel very confused, and then leave class and like you're even more confused. But I think it's part of the process, or I'm not sure. Let me know how your classes, lectures have been like for you. I think it's just one of those classes where maybe if I understood the material a bit better, like just the foundations, the background, I would have a better experience with the class. I tried to where before the lecture, I just review some of the slides, but there's just so much material that I know I'm behind on, at least at the moment. Even reviewing some of the material, going into lecture, it made sense and I could at least follow it, and it was definitely a little more enjoyable, but it was still very challenging. So I definitely think it's just one of those classes where, for me personally, my math experience has been, I haven't had to think about too much calculus and probabilistic modeling in at least a few years. So it's definitely just lit a fire into my butt to just, all right, it's time to really just hatch down, figure this stuff out, and just teach myself. So that's the whole point of today's episode, of really this week, that I want to share with you guys. So firstly, I'm using prompt engineering. So I'm using ChatGPT and Claude to build out a sort of lesson plan. I'm taking slides from the lectures as well as the chapters from the textbook that the professors gave us, and really just focusing the AI on that to give the AI context. Then what I do is I say, explain, like the only math I actually know is counting. Explain the topics covered in this chapter using a mind map. And what I generally do is I use Claude for my initial mind mapping of each of the concepts discussed in that chapter and in that lecture. So I have a roadmap of, okay, I need to study X, Y, Z, A, B, C. Those are the key ideas I need to know. So by the end of this 2 to 6 hour study block, I know at least these key concepts and understand why and when I would use them. Then once I have my mind map, I take that and I just drill into it, go deep into each line piece by piece, taking each line and plugging it into ChatGPT if I don't know it. What does this notation mean? What does this sentence mean? What does this definition mean? And then why? Why do we use different parts of calculus for this specific problem? What is the thinking behind that? And really just trying to utilize and understand like the meta learning of it all. Really just using AI to just self-teach myself the meta structures of everything. That's really been my prompt engineering side of things. I can use AI to create a mind map. That's Claude. Then ChatGPT I really use to get into the weeds, into the nitty gritty. Really, because ChatGPT, you can prompt it really as much as you want, whereas Claude, there's certain limits to it. So I think Claude is a little more refined, but to really ask it like basic questions, you can just switch over to ChatGPT. So that's step number 1 for me, really prompt engineering and providing context as to what it is you actually want to study. Don't put in the entire textbook, take it chunks at a time. Just use one prompt or at least one session for just a single chapter, then create a new session with a different chapter. And because I think if you give it the entire, textbook or whatnot, it's going to be too much. So just use a chapter or use a handful of concepts. From there, step 2 is what is your study routine? My plan is to take really 2 to 6 hours per day. I found 2 hours generally has been good, but on the weekends, I do find myself taking 4 to 6 hours even to really study, review the material, understand the notation, understand the definitions, understand the concepts. And I really like to go into just asking simple questions, reviewing line by line, and until the material really clicks for me, until I'm able to look at the material and actually like understand, read it, just like any other book that you would normally read with words. A lot of this material is math heavy. So if I'm able to look at different slides and understand what the math is saying and like just read it, like, oh yeah, I understand why they went this approach or why they use this exponent, whatnot, then great. That means I'm able to at least understand the material. I'm still struggling to even read some of the math. So definitely making progress, but not where I know I need to be. So that's where I'm at right now for my study routine. Then thirdly, how am I measuring my progress? What I'm doing is I'm trying to review material that I've already studied, reviewed, or tested myself on in the past. The textbooks that the professors gave us have questions at the end of each chapter. So what I'm doing is I'm looking at previous homeworks and looking at previous notes to see, am I able to understand the writing, or did I have to use ChatGPT to help explain certain parts as I was thinking through it? Where am I at? If I'm able to fully read it, great. That's 1% progress upwards towards acquiring this knowledge. If I'm reading through it and a lot of it doesn't make sense, okay, great. Then I know what I need to study next. And what I'm doing is the way I'm measuring my progress is by looking at previous material and seeing how efficiently can I read it. Not just am I able to make sense of the material, but how fast am I able to read through the material? How fast am I able to understand and just really, yeah, just have the material click. And I found this to be very similar, at least from my experience, in terms of reading research papers. When I first read research papers, I remember just reading a few sentences. I'd be like, what is every other word in these sentences that I just read? But over time, as you get more familiar with the literature, as you get more familiar, even with, I know at that time I should have been reviewing more fundamental biology. As you get more familiar with the biology and some of the stats, and in this case, the math, I know I'll be able to read and understand the material quicker and quicker. And so that's really the idea. The way I'm going to measure my progress is through how well I can at least read this material and how effectively I'm able to understand this material when I read it the first time through. And the goal being, okay, as I read the material, I'm able to understand really the why. Why are we thinking with this mathematical model? Why not this other model? And I think that's really the whole point of the class. Not so much to do proofs, even though the class is very proof heavy, much heavier than I would have liked or even thought the class would need to be. But I think some of the concepts have definitely been very helpful in class. It's just a matter of really understanding that math. So just really taking time to understand the math and really be able to comprehend it. So that's really where we're at. I'm using this 3-step system of just prompt engineering, make my mind map. Then what does my study routine look like? Staying consistent every day to review. And I'm optimistic with this approach. As long as I stay consistent, self-teaching myself this material, things will start to make sense, just like it's doing now with a lot of the research that I'm focusing on, or even a lot of the science where I'm not doing research in, but I'm able to better understand the research and even the words and conceptually the science that other people are tackling and approaching. Now, in terms of highlight for this past week, it's really just been a lot of traveling and a lot of delicious food. I had Thanksgiving, so just got to go visit family and just really enjoy that. And then really stressor has just been QCM. This QCM class has been very stressful just because it's a lot of math that I don't understand. But it's a lot of math I don't understand yet. I'm trying to stay optimistic, and hopefully the exam's not too crazy. If you're experiencing or have experienced a class that was super challenging for you, that you felt was just really rough while you were going through it, let me know down below what class that was for you. And if you have a system in place for how you go about self-teaching yourself a lot of the material, let me know down below. I always love learning and updating and changing my own learning system. 2 years ago, I don't think I would have been even thinking about using AI for self-teaching myself, but that's where we're at now. Thanks for your time. I look forward to seeing you in the next one.